Weather off the Texas Gulf Coast has a potential to bring a lot of rain. What it might mean for water-hungry cities and the rest of the state today on the Texas Standard.
Texas Standard is a production of KUT Austin, KERA North Texas, Houston Public Media, and Texas Public Radio in San Antonio.
I'm Laura Rice. We've talked a lot about the number of data centers coming to Texas, especially outside of the DFW area. Today, a closer look at the legal bind counties are getting into as they try to slow their growth. A lawsuit led by Texas could have huge implications for people with disabilities, what everyone needs to know about the case. Plus, Tim Kerr is an icon of Texas punk and the skater scene, why even now he never stops pushing his art. And the World Cup is in Texas, and so is the so-called Orange Army. We tag along today on The Standard. There's a tropical storm warning off the Texas Gulf Coast alongside flood watches and warnings. And just to make it really feel like summer, heat advisories for most of the state. It's the Texas Standard for Wednesday, June 17th. I'm Laura Rice. The feels like temperature could reach up to 110 today around DFW, and the actual temperature is expected to be 106 in Lubbock and 108 in Midland, Odessa. And it looks like temps could remain high for the next few days across much of Texas, even as we expect some wet weather thanks in part to what's happening off the Gulf Coast right now. So what is happening there? It was at first shaping up to look severe, but weather watchers backed off from that. As of Texas Standard Time Wednesday morning, this disturbance wasn't yet worthy of a name. If it gets one, it will be Arthur. For what we know right now and where things are going, we turn to Eric Berger, editor of Space City Weather in Houston. Eric, welcome back to the Texas Standard.
Thanks very much.
All right, people can get nervous when we talk about tropical weather, but this one, they were floating a name. It doesn't even deserve a name, right? Is that what they decided?
Well, it still could gain a name over the next 12 hours or so. There's a chance that it further develops kind of over the extreme northwestern Gulf. But it doesn't really matter for the intents and purposes of the impacts from this system. There's some lingering rain and there's some winds on the coast, but it's really not too impactful of a system.
Okay. So we are seeing rain, and that's not a bad thing for Gulf Coast areas, which, I'm thinking especially Corpus Christi, which really could use some. Is this going to be a game changer system or not so much?
So, as of this morning, the low pressure system is basically off of Matagorda Bay. So all of the showers and stuff are off to the northeast. So the majority of the rain is over the Gulf and not inland. So if it stopped raining where people are, it's pretty much done. And it will be clear of the state, later today or tonight. You mentioned Corpus Christi. We have had a really nice wet period over the last 30 days that I think has really helped the situation there. If you look at some of the water data, the levels, Lake Corpus Christi, I checked it this morning, is at its highest level since November of 2024. After this storm system and the rains we had earlier this month. And so that's really beneficial. It's still only about 30% full. But it is making a nice recovery, and I think that those levels will go up even a little bit more in the coming days due to all the rain we've had.
So hurricane season technically started June 1st. Should we read anything into the recent rain that we've been having into what kind of hurricane season we'll see this year?
So we are now officially in an El Nino, which is a Pacific pattern that does have impacts here. That generally means a bit wetter of a summer here, and so I think some of what we've seen over the last month is due to that. As we look out for the rest of the hurricane season, we're really just at the beginning. For Texas, the months that matter are basically from now through September. So the next 3.5 months are really going to be the time we need to watch things closely. I don't think we can draw too much from what we've had so far, but we'll have to see.
Well, we've been talking about the Gulf Coast. I mean, I know here in Central Texas, it seems like anecdotally that we've been having a wetter summer so far. Again, you mentioned the El Nino pattern. Are we expecting this tropical system to bring stuff to the rest of the state, or is it something else that's contributing to that wet weather?
Well, we've had a nice pattern this late spring and early summer where we've seen the absence of high pressure, which has allowed, much more rainfall. And if you go back and look at the drought situation 3 months ago, a lot of the central and southern parts of Texas and eastern parts of Texas were in an extreme or even exceptional drought. Up to about half of the state, and those numbers have come way down. And so areas like San Antonio, places like that, have just seen enough rain that has really helped things out. And that's important because we're now entering the hottest time of the year with the sun at the highest point in the sky. And so if soils are dry now, that they would, rapidly dry out further.
Well, where are we looking going into the weekend? It is Juneteenth weekend. That's a huge deal in Galveston and around Houston, of course, and really in a lot of parts of the state. Is it going to be a rain out, or are we expecting things to kind of move through?
I don't expect a rain out. Saturday we could see some rain showers return. I do think like Thursday and Friday, pretty sunny across the area. Saturday, we could see some rain showers return. But then by Sunday and Monday, high pressure is going to be setting in across much of the state. And so I think we're going to start to feel a lot more like June in Texas, which is to say lots of sunshine, lots of mid-90s. So I do think we're going to see a transition from this wetter start to summer we've experienced into something a little more typical for this time of year.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I'm struck by looking at the National Weather Service map this morning is just this colorful area of heat advisories, even extreme heat warnings in sort of this south central part of the state. That plus wet weather equals humid, right? Is that what we're going to feel a lot of too?
Well, I'm in Houston, so we feel humidity from mid-May through September. It doesn't really let up much, but yeah, I mean it's definitely going to be hot and humid, and lots of the state has started out the summer in June, particularly due to the rain-cooled air, but a little bit cooler than normal, and certainly a lot cooler. If you remember last June, we were well above normal in terms of temperature. So this summer, relatively speaking, it started out pretty mild. I do think Texans need to prepare for a little bit more typical summertime conditions, which is a lot of heat, a lot of sunshine, a lot of humidity.
Anything that you're watching any further out in the ocean right now, or is this latest tropical disturbance kind of where it ends for now?
We think this is it for now. I mean, typically June is a fairly quiet month during the tropics, so you might get one or two systems like this. Really, the activity it picks up in a big way when you get to August and September. So we're still kind of in the early season. So it looks pretty quiet, but that's pretty usual.
Eric Berger is editor of Space City Weather in Houston. Eric, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rural counties in North Texas have become a hotspot for new data centers. Some communities have made efforts to stop or at least slow the growth, but legal challenges are making that hard. KERA's Pablo Arauz-Peña reports local leaders are left with few options to fight lawsuits from big data companies.
A recent public meeting in Hood County devolved into a shouting match between County Attorney Matthew Mills and residents who oppose data centers. Commissioners were voting to approve another data center project called Comanche Circle without conditions after the developer threatened to sue. Mills says many residents want to stop the industry from moving in, but
if the Commissioners Court did what they want, we would currently have 6 lawsuits right now.
He says commissioners are only upholding the law to avoid legal action.
There is a sense, I think, of, we can't keep doing this, and we got to pick our battles here.
There are at least 9 proposed projects in Hood and nearby Somerville counties, which concerned residents say could raise their electricity bills and use up water resources. As local leaders try to slow or regulate the influx, some companies are using lawsuits to push developments forward. Down the road in Hill County, commissioners rescinded a moratorium on data center construction after a company sued for $100 million, arguing the county didn't have the legal authority to impose the ban. Robert Patterson is a professor at UT Austin who specializes in land use law. He says the lawsuit in Hill County sent a message.
You're not going to see anybody else trying a moratorium at this point because they've seen what happens when you do it. You basically just get clubbed with a ridiculous amount of money.
He says counties have few options for regulating development because local control is limited.
The whole reason why we're seeing this boom in Texas is, I think, kind of referred to as kind of the yeehaw, regulatory environment, like anything goes.
Dan Diorio is with the Data Center Coalition, a national group that lobbies for the industry. He says data facilities are a crucial part of the state's digital infrastructure.
It's every telehealth appointment, every electronic healthcare record, every online classroom, every online purchase or banking and financial transaction, state and local governments, national security, military purposes, you name it.
He adds that when counties try to pass moratoriums, it hinders the industry's growth.
These are $1 billion of investments. Any uncertainty or unpredictability is going to significantly impact that investment and the viability of that project.
Many counties want to see some regulations. In Somerville County, which neighbors Hood, leaders enacted a pause on data centers until the state offers more guidance. Somerville Commissioner Chip Jocelyn says while nearby Hill County had to walk back its pause, the outcome was productive.
What it did is it drove several other data center developers to the table to talk to them. Because, we don't get that a lot of times.
Hill County now has a list of development rules for data centers. Rita Beving with the advocacy group Public Citizen says that's a step in the right direction. Now she says it's up to the state legislature to take up the issue as public pressure builds.
Our legislators need to wake up down in Austin and see what is really going on the ground in these communities.
Earlier this month, Governor Greg Abbott directed public utilities to ensure electricity costs tied to data centers aren't passed on to residents. He also pledged to work with the legislature next year to codify those protections. I'm Pablo Arauz Peña in Dallas.
Still ahead on The Standard, we'll look at a lawsuit and its implications. We're talking Texas v. Kennedy. That's Texas, as in Attorney General Ken Paxton is leading the multi-state suit, and Kennedy, as in U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. So what's at stake and how quickly could things move? Meanwhile, you can keep up with the Texas Standard at texasstandard.org. Right now on the homepage, we have some images from a Texas-sized sculpture exhibit and the latest on New World screwworm. You never have to miss an episode if you subscribe to our podcast, and you can get another angle on stories or look behind the scenes by following us on social media. We're in all the usual places, Facebook, Instagram, and we're getting more active on YouTube, so check us out there. There's more Texas Standard just ahead.
Support for Texas Standard comes from H-E-B and the My H-E-B app, which is available for download, and shopping fresh departments like seafood, produce, bakery, and deli, and scheduling curbside pickup or home delivery. More at heb.com.
My name's Joey Santore. I'm the author of the book Concrete Botany, and you're listening to the Texas Standard. Concrete Botany, it started because I noticed I would walk these decrepit areas in Oakland, LA, Mexico City, any big city, and I would notice that the plants that were growing out of cracks in the sidewalk or out of, railroad easements, out of gutters, out of abandoned buildings, they always somehow seemed more attractive to me in their form and their placement than most of the stuff that I saw planted in front of the bank or the drugstore. I was really interested in the ruderal plants, the plants that kind of grow amidst the rubble on the margins of society. For the last 10 or 15 years since I've been into this, since I've been studying botany, plant ecology, I've realized that most human societies don't really pay attention to plants. They're plant blind. When you grow up in a society that teaches you that every plant needs to be nicely manicured, hedged, evenly spaced, and in a line, and most of them don't even occur in nature at all. They're literally cultivars that were bred in greenhouses for showy leaves or, more conspicuous flowers to the human eye, etc. When you grow up with that being the standard, you kind of end up viewing nature in the living world as ugly and messy and full of ticks. Before I got into botany, all I knew was the human world, and it was people can be great, but people can also be really depressing. And so when I discovered this whole other living world outside of it, the world of what most people would call nature, I don't even call it anymore, I just call it the living world. It was literally an escape from that, but it was also an answer to it. Our human world is very recent. It's a very recent thing in terms of the age of the Earth. And all this other stuff has been here a lot longer. And so it became something that I just became obsessed with, and it was fascinating. First, I hope this book makes people a little less plant blind. And second, I would hope that it offers them some of the same philosophical reprieve that it offered me when I learned about all this stuff initially. I hope it clears the muddy waters for them a little bit. I hope it elucidates their own standing in the world and how we came to be here. And most importantly, I hope it encourages them to have a little bit of respect and curiosity about the context of the things, the living things, other living things that live and grow around them. My name's Joey Santore. I'm the author of the book Concrete Botany, and you're listening to the Texas Standard.
And you're listening to the Texas Standard. A long-running court case could dramatically alter a long-standing pillar of civil rights law for people with disabilities, limiting their ability to receive services in the communities where they live. Texas versus Kennedy is a multi-state lawsuit led by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. It challenges the Department of Health and Human Services 2024 updates to Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. Advocates say that if the suit is successful, people with disabilities could be forced into nursing homes and other institutions. The Standard's Shelley Brisbane has been following the case and joins me in the studio now. Shelley, thanks so much for being here.
Hi, Laura.
So tell us about this case. What are states seeking?
So the states objected to Section 504 updates that were made in 2024 by the Biden administration. This is 17 states led by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who did not like the additional mandates that those regulations included, specifically that had to do with integration of people with disabilities in communities. They didn't want to be forced to make those integrations, which would have cost them a lot of money. Now, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act goes back to 1973, and it says that people with disabilities have to be able to get the same services as anyone else would in any program that is funded by the federal government. And so the states initially wanted to overturn Section 504 as a whole, but later on that was amended to just address the integration mandate.
All right. What do, disability advocates think of all this? Were they happy with the updates, and what do they think about this challenge?
They were really concerned in a very fundamental way by the initial lawsuit. It was a five-alarm fire for them because Section 504, along with Americans with Disabilities Act and subsequent laws, are pillars of disability law in the United States and provide the rubric under which people with disabilities get services and are able to determine that those services are provided to them in the community rather than being institutionalized without their consent.
So what do states want here? Are they advocating that all of Section 504 be overturned?
States amended their complaint after some significant backlash from people with disabilities who said, wait a minute, Section 504 is just too important. You can't declare it unconstitutional. Please don't do that. And so the states pulled back, and they are more specifically targeting those 2024 updates that have to do with integration of individuals into the community. I talked to disability advocate Kaylee Brundle about this.
So they're making it explicitly clear that the integration mandate, the right of disabled people to receive our services and accommodations in the most integrated setting, they are trying to harm that language specifically.
Well, I understand the number of states that are part of the suit has been changing. What's going on with that?
So we started out with 17 states in this lawsuit, and it's down to 6. Kansas was the most recent state to withdraw from the lawsuit last week. That's because disability advocates have been working very directly to convince state attorneys general to drop out of this suit before it could ever get to trial, because they've been making that case that Section 504 is too important and that any legal challenge to it in total or in part puts it at great risk. And they've had success in that effort. And another issue that advocates have is the change from the Biden administration to the Trump administration, because the suit was originally against President Biden's Secretary of Health and Human Services, but Trump's Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is perceived to be more on the state side than the Biden administration was. And Kaylee Brundle addressed that.
Typically, you'd have an entity or an advocate defending Section 504. The defendant in this case is Secretary Kennedy in his official capacity as Secretary of Health and Human Services. He has filed joint motions with the states every time.
So, Shelley, what are the next steps in this case? Is it set to come to trial soon?
Well, the states and the federal government are still briefing. The case right now is in the Northern District of Texas, and the states have a deadline of early August to put their briefs in. The federal government originally had a June 15th deadline, but they've recently asked for an extension. And so right now, advocates and other observers of this case are just watching to see what the federal government is going to propose and whether they are in fact going to side with the states more directly or whether they're going to defend Section 504.
Shelley, I want to throw one more at you. You talked about the states kind of backing out of this, several states. Indeed, and Texas is still leading this, including Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who, of course, is now running for Senate. Has he said anything specifically about why this is so important to him to challenge?
He's not really responded directly, and a lot of people have tried to get comment from the Texas Attorney General's office, and that has not been forthcoming. I do think there has been pressure from Texan advocates, but there really hasn't been a direct response other than for the suit to continue from Paxton's office.
Shelley Brisbane follows disability issues for us here at The Standard. Shelley, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Support for Texas Standard comes from Texas Monthly, producer of Where the River Took Us, a podcast about the July 4th floods from survivor Aaron Parsley's perspective, through the voices of his family and others, telling the story of grief, healing, and survival. Available on all podcast platforms.
From the Texas Newsroom, I'm Matt Harab. A tropical system continues moving along the Texas coast. Houston Public Media's Juliana Washburn is in Galveston watching conditions on the island as the system passes by.
The National Weather Service tells us that over the last few days, we've had 6 to 8 inches of rain on the west end of the island, most of that happening overnight. We could see 4 more inches today. Rain is hitting us now. Local officials in Galveston are really asking residents to be careful of flooding. They're telling drivers to stay away from any flooded roads and avoid unnecessary travel.
Some coastal areas could see up to 10 inches of rain as the storm passes by. The timing of the New World screwworm outbreak has wildlife officials worried about its potential impact on Texas deer. Tim Gutierrez reports.
The flesh-eating parasite spreads when flies lay eggs in open wounds of warm-blooded animals. Wildlife is especially vulnerable because, unlike livestock, wild animals cannot be easily treated. South Texas veterinarian Dr. Galen Wilmeth Burleson says deer are facing a dangerous moment right now.
We are right smack dab in baby time for our deer, and it's the same thing. They get in the navel of the deer.
Texas Parks and Wildlife is urging hunters, ranchers, and landowners to report suspected wildlife cases immediately. I'm Tim Gutierrez in San Antonio.
Hundreds of people in Glen Rose attended a meeting on potential impacts to water resources and Dinosaur Valley State Park due to data center development. State Representative Helen Kerr says she's working on legislation aimed at increasing transparency and local input on future developments. She says protecting Texas's natural resources should be a part of the conversation.
If we cannot protect our beloved Dinosaur Valley State Park, which I consider the crown jewel in our state park system, every state park in Texas is vulnerable.
Kerr has also urged Governor Abbott to consider additional review of large-scale data center projects for their impact on local communities. And one person is dead after a privately owned aircraft crashed on a major highway in Laredo. Laredo police say the small passenger plane crashed on Loop 20 shortly before 10 p.m. last night. A vehicle traveling on the highway was struck by part of the aircraft. The passengers survived, and they were taken to a local hospital. I'm Matt Harrod in the Texas Newsroom.
You're listening to statewide news from public radio stations across Texas. This coverage is only possible because of support from listeners like you. You can help sustain and grow Texas news coverage by donating to your local public radio station today.
It's the Texas Standard. I'm David Brown. Texas Monthly and Penguin Random House are relaunching an imprint to publish books about the Lone Star State. Texas Monthly Press. That's a name you may recall. It was originally opened back in the 1970s, though it shuttered in the 90s. A new press release says this revival of Texas Monthly Press will publish work that, quote, reflects the singular mythos of Texas. Its first run includes a guide to barbecue authored by our friend and colleague Daniel Vaughn, barbecue editor at Texas Monthly. There's also a memoir on the 2025 floods from Pulitzer Prize winner Aaron Parsley, and a historical fantasy about the Texan who killed Dracula. Ross McCammon is the editor-in-chief of Texas Monthly. Ross, welcome to the Texas Standard.
Thanks for having me.
As I was saying there, this isn't the Texas Monthly's first rodeo doing this sort of thing. How are you going to build on the old imprint's initial run back in the 20th century?
Well, I mean, I think that we acknowledge the ambition of that, and we're thinking the same thing. We're in the business of telling stories, and we want to tell stories in every way we possibly can. We're standing on the shoulders of the people that started it back in the 70s, just like we are every day with the people that built up Texas Monthly to what it is. I'm grateful that we can build on that legacy.
Why is this happening now? Is there anything to the timing of this?
The book industry, I would say, is it's been, up and down, and it's up right now. People are reading books. People are listening to books. Barnes & Noble is opening new bookstores for the first time.
Right.
It's a great time to be in the book business. And we were going to start a press no matter what. And we have some friends at Penguin Random House, and we were picking their brains about it. And they said, listen, I think we need to talk. For them, it's about audiences, right? It's like it's reaching that middle of the country audience. And for us to have that opportunity, have the sort of muscle of Penguin Random House and consultation, I mean, it was just an opportunity we couldn't pass up. We were going to do a press regardless, but this opportunity just supercharges the whole effort.
I think about, say, other partnerships, for instance, Disney books, National Geographic books, Sports Illustrated books, that sort of thing. Given the way that the business works, is this like publisher licensing or partnering around a brand, Texas Monthly? I'm thinking of it from Penguin Random House's perspective. Are they now getting a sort of a segment of the bookstore that's about Texas, and it's going to be under, I guess, your name, Texas Monthly?
Yeah, the thing I want to make sure people understand is that Texas Monthly is the publisher. The reason why I want to stress that is because this isn't just slapping Texas Monthly's name on books, right? This isn't just a licensing agreement. This is a business partnership we are going to be working out of Texas. The people that are in charge of this are Texans. They're us. So very important for everyone to understand that.
Why not go it alone again, as you did back in the old days? What does this partnership mean for you?
I mean, think about, the way I say it to people is it's sort of Texas Monthly storytelling, ethos, quality, dedication to covering the state, plus the muscle, the infrastructure of an outfit like Penguin Random House, which is, it's as good as it gets. I mean, they basically just allow us to reach, help us reach the country. We're really good at talking to Texans, but to be able to take advantage of that infrastructure that knows how to speak to a global audience, I mean, that's our ambition, right? We believe that we tell stories about Texas, but that we don't just tell stories for Texans. we tell our audience is vast. And so anyone who can help us reach audiences, and that's the name of the game these days, it's access to audiences with this fractured attention spans. And if anybody who can help me find an audience ready to read Texas Monthly, to listen to Texas Monthly, to watch Texas Monthly, I'm in.
Texas Monthly Press is set to publish its first slate of books in summer of next year. Am I right about that, Ross?
That's right. Well, we're going to do all we can to make that happen.
Yeah, that's quite a goal you've set for yourself there. But I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to that first batch of books. So we're going to have more over at TexasStandard.org. Ross McCammon is the editor-in-chief of Texas Monthly. Ross, thanks so much for taking a few minutes to talk with us on The Standard.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Support for Texas Standard comes from Texas Casa. For a child in foster care, small moments today can have a big impact tomorrow. More on how lending time and support can help make a difference at becomeacasa.org.
It's the Texas Standard. I'm Laura Rice. Tim Kerr has spent nearly 5 decades making art that refuses to sit still. Many people first encountered Kerr through the ferocious, funk-fueled Austin punk of the Big Boys, the influential late 70s, early 80s band he co-founded alongside the late Randy Biscuit Turner. But Kerr's work has stretched far beyond punk. Garage rock, blues, free jazz, folk traditions, painting, photography, murals, zines, and what he simply calls self-expression. Now a new documentary revisits the story and legacy of the Big Boys, and Kerr himself remains as creatively restless as ever. Here to talk about the Big Boys, DIY culture, old Austin outsider art, and why he still believes creativity belongs to everybody is Tim Kerr. Tim, welcome to the Texas Standard.
Well, thanks for asking me.
A lot of people know the Big Boys as an influential punk band, but the thing that keeps coming up in interviews is that you all never really saw yourselves as fitting neatly into punk in the first place. When you look back now, what do you think the band was actually trying to do?
Well, first of all, back then, like punk now has pretty much become a uniform and it's got a set of rules it's basically exactly what happened to hippie or beatnik or any of those things that, here's a bunch of people that start up something just because that's what they're doing. And then all of a sudden a whole bunch of other people give it a name and they give it a uniform and rules and all this stuff. So when this all first started, there really wasn't, new wave punk, all that stuff was all the same thing. It was basically a bunch of weirdos that they couldn't, put into some box.
You don't understand what we're trying to say. You don't listen to us anyway.
So when we started, there really wasn't any kind of rules or anything, which, to this day, I firmly believe that with self-expression, you're not supposed to be having any rules.
Fuck, fuck, fuck. That's what we say. Fuck, fuck.
we were just doing what we were doing, like air, breathing. We were just something to do. This will be great. Let's have fun. Let's do this.
Well, the documentary revisits this very specific Austin moment at the dawn of the 1980s. Raoul's, skate culture, zines, all these overlapping creative communities. What feels most misunderstood about that era now, I guess, especially by younger people who only know it through mythology?
It wasn't as big as everybody thinks it was now. Like there wasn't that many people coming to the shows, and there wasn't, like the skate stuff. Like you basically, especially if you were in college and you were skating, you would get lots of people like, grow up. Back then, we might as well have been from Saturn because nobody knew what the hell was going on with skating or. A good example for it with skating was that I broke my arm in 75, 76. I've got plates in my left arm, and I was supposed to play at Kerrville. I won a slot, and somebody had sent in a tape of me playing music, and I was skating in a 14-foot pool in Bastrop, and I stuck in the gutter. The wheel stuck, and so I fell and pretty much crushed my left arm. But every frickin' doctor in the place, because once again, nobody knew what we were doing, kind of thing. Every doctor was just going, well, what? So you were skating on the sidewalk and you fell into the pool? And it's like, no. They were skating on the wall. Like they just. Nobody could comprehend, any of this stuff back then. So,
one thing that really comes through in your work, whether it's music, painting, or photography, is this idea that creativity should be participatory, not spectator culture. You've said before, go start your own band. Do you think that spirit still exists today?
Oh, yeah. I think I don't know. Each individual does it as they do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it's like to this day now, I sign everything. If you see the murals or you see paintings or anything like that, I sign it your name here. And I sign it that because if you're looking at the bottom of this thing to see who did this and you see your name here, it's like, yep, come on. You can make clothes, you can do radio shows, you can do music, do something. Everybody has their own self-expression that they can do something with, and you should. You're missing out if you're not doing that. So
I alluded to this, but after the big boys, you kept moving. Poison 13, the Lord High Fixers, old-time music, visual art, murals, free jazz, explorations. What keeps you chasing new forms?
Because I hope I haven't seen the best thing yet. Like it drives me crazy when people are so, they either think that they missed it or that they just think that like their high school touchdown pass, like that nothing's ever going to get better than 1983, or or like when I was in high school, that's the best days, or college. That is unbelievably depressing to me. And yeah, a lot of those times were really great, but I for one, with all the crazy stuff I've gotten to see and do and be part of and all that, I hope I haven't seen the best thing yet, and I can't imagine not living like that.
Well, your paintings often spotlight people who exist outside the mainstream canon. Musicians, activists, visionary artists, and civil rights figures. What draws you to those subjects, and I guess what do you hope people see in them?
Everybody influences somebody else, even if it's just one person. And somebody can literally see the shirt, the shoes, whatever you have on that day or whatever you said or something. Go out and buy those shoes. You just influence somebody that you didn't even know, kind of thing. So all of these people that I'm painting basically did what they did because something needed to be done at that particular point in time. And they didn't do it to be famous. They didn't do it to make money, have a name or anything. They just were doing what they thought needed to get done or what they felt needed to come out of them. And look what happened. But now, in this day and age, where they're trying to erase history, it's like even more important that people find out about these people and the truths that they celebrated and were part of and all of that.
I understand you've been undergoing chemotherapy. Has that experience changed the way you think about making things or connecting with people?
A while back, and especially during Lord High Fixers, Mike had been gone, and when he came back, nobody knew exactly what had happened, or, he could have easily been dead or whatever. And when he came back, it was that realization that here's somebody that you really loved, and here they're back in your life. And that means that this could be the last time me and you are sitting here talking right now. So you better hug and celebrate things that are happening all around you at that point in time, because you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know what's coming up. Like you could either be here or not be here or stuff. So if you want to do things, do them. Don't sit around and think like, oh, okay, well, next week I'm going to do. Like, no, you don't. You may not have next week. So the whole thing with cancer, it didn't affect me a lot like I guess other people it might affect and stuff, because I'd already had that switch. I can't imagine not living like that.
Other people and other lives.
You Can Color Outside the Lines is the name of a new feature documentary about Austin's big boys. It premieres June 21st at 29th Street Ballroom in Austin. Tim Kerr, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you. And also, June 21st is Go Skate Day. So everybody that skates, get out there and get on your board. And big boys would have never started if it wasn't for skating. So
it's not just about the brisket or the ribs or the sausage or even the sides. It's the culture and people who are passionate about it. Where there's smoke, there's Daniel Vaughn, Texas Monthly Barbecue Editor. Join us next Thursday on the Texas Standard.
Support for Where There's Smoke comes from H-E-B.
This is the Texas Standard. I'm Laura Rice. The World Cup is here, and folks in Arlington over the weekend definitely noticed. The event shaped traffic, commerce, and the overall look of the city. The first World Cup game in North Texas took place Sunday, and Dutch fans brought a special tradition with them. KERA's Andy Lusk followed alongside the Orange Army.
The rumors are true. The Dutch love to party. Thousands of fans came out Sunday morning to turn the route from Choctaw Stadium to Dallas Stadium into a massive street festival/parade. They were celebrating before their match against Japan, which was the first World Cup game held in Arlington. 8 more are on the way. Mario Borst and Pauline Visser flew into Dallas from the Netherlands with colleagues from the Royal Dutch Football Association, or KNVB. You just heard them singing a Dutch song called Back in Time. Visser says,
you sing when there's something to celebrate, and you wear orange, and it gives a feeling of community, and like we're strong together. It makes people happy.
She says the Dutch are known for getting a little bit crazy when it comes time to party.
I think we make a lot of noise as Dutch people. In the world, we are such a small country, but we feel connected when there's something to celebrate in our country.
The Orange Army, as it's called, is a staple of Dutch soccer culture. Fans take to the streets wearing bright orange to honor the country's royal roots and to cheer on national players before they hit the field. When the Orange Army is on the move, it's led by a world-traveling, double-decker bus carrying revelers and blasting tunes. The mood is exuberant. Electronic dance music thuds through the streets, and chants erupt from across the crowd. Gerardo Cervantes is a local who wants to be a part of the action, even if he doesn't have a ticket to the game. He came to experience the Orange Army's takeover of Arlington.
Never in my lifetime would I have even expected to come to a World Cup event, let alone be 15 minutes down the street from the damn stadium and be able to just come and enjoy it.
The sea of orange shirts, hats, body paint, and synthetic wigs is stunning to see. Still, there's a blend of color here. Fans wave countless red, white, and blue Dutch flags. Other countries' fans are in the crowd too, including Japan. But there's no hostility. The World Cup, after all, is widely considered a unifying event. Multiple visiting Japanese fans say they're excited to experience Texas food while here, especially the burgers and steaks. But both Dutch and Japanese visitors are surprised by how big and friendly the Lone Star State is. Shigeki Hanawa is experiencing Dallas for the first time. He flew in from Tokyo only a day before.
It was more than I expected. The state's clean, great, people are so nice, and the stadium, it's more than like a surprise, right? It's majestic, so it's great.
And Guido Jensen says similarly.
Yeah, yesterday I was on the fan zone in Dallas. It was amazing how big it was and how well organized. and the screens are everywhere. We don't know that in Europe.
The Dallas-Fort Worth area is anticipating an influx of almost 4 million visitors during the World Cup. Games in the region run through mid-July. The next match at Dallas Stadium, as AT&T Stadium is known during the World Cup, features England versus Croatia, taking place Wednesday afternoon. As for the Netherlands, they'll play again on Saturday against Sweden. As is tradition, Dutch fans are sure to unleash their inner party animal again. I'm Andy Lusk in Arlington.
And you're listening to the Texas Standard. Audience and engagement editor Wells Dunbar is monitoring the talk of Texas, and the Texans are indeed talking about the World Cup, right, Wells?
They sure are. Didn't that sound so much fun?
It did.
I wish I was out there in Arlington right now, and I suspect many of our friends and listeners out there may be feeling the same way. But, you know, even if you can't, we've got a cool project going on this week as part of the talk of Texas. We're wanting to hear from people. What's the most American, or really, what's the most Texan thing international World Cup visitor could see during their time in Texas? You know, this is inspired by, we've seen so many of these viral clips on TikTok, Instagram, etc. I'm thinking of this one I saw with this woman marveling, I believe she was visiting from Germany, marveling at the Coca-Cola remix fountain or whatever, you know, where you got the LED screen and you get like 100 different combinations, the sorts of things that we may take for granted here, but aren't exactly, you know, accepted the world over. And so we've gotten a bunch of really great submissions from people because, of course, go to texasstandard.org/talk and you can submit a voice upload, voice recording, just, you know, sharing your thoughts on what would the most Texan thing a World Cup visitor could experience. And I've got a great clip of tape here from one Steve Bridges, and I think it's going to be really hard to top this one in terms of Texas bona fides. Let's take a listen here.
Hey, this is Steve Bridges out here in Bastrop. The most Texas thing these people could experience is they walk into some Texas bar somewhere to get a little flavor of Texas, and in behind them walks Willie Nelson with Trigger, Lucas Nelson, and Mickey Raphael, the harmonica player. He also has some sacks of Franklin barbecue and breaks out 3 or 4 big old Hooters. And Willie plays late into the night, and they all drink Lone Star beer, take pictures, and it's the best night they've ever had in their lives.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to imagine topping that one, and maybe not the most realistic expectation out there. But but again, we're getting so many submissions of types of experiences out of town visitors could get, and you know, I'm looking at several of the ones I'm seeing here on our Facebook page, and they just range from, you know, the fantastic to the sort of simple things. You know, it's like you can catch live music at an H-E-B Central Market. You know, it's just so cooked in to many Texas experiences out there. So again, please come with your own suggestions to us here at texasstandard.org/talk, and just press that orange record button on your smartphone and tell us what's the most Texan thing an out-of-town visitor could witness during this World Cup season. Because, Laura, I don't have to tell you, there are so many. Don't mention Buc-ee's, though. We've gotten a lot of love for Buc-ee's already.
I mean, I can see why that would be overwhelming to folks, though. I mean, it is why.
Yes.
You know, the thing, I was a little confused by some of what he said in that clip there, but what I did like about it was that it was like, I think you recorded it outside. You could hear like the wind and the bugs going. That was my favorite part of that clip. I can't say I've ever, you know, had an experience where Willie Nelson was, you know,
shows up
sharing
behind you
space
with a couple sacks of barbecue and some accoutrements.
Apparently, I'm just not living the Texas experience, though. So
well, we all can't, but our visitors can. So again, go to texasstandard.org/talk. We'd love to hear from folks.
All right, thank you. Wells Dunbar is our audience and engagement editor. Our producers and reporters include Sarah Ash, Shelley Brisbane, Michael Marks, and Sean Saldana. Raul Alonso is our digital producer. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you back here tomorrow, Texas Standard Time.
Support for Texas Standard comes from Texas Mutual Insurance Company, a workers' compensation provider that's been caring for hardworking Texans for over 30 years. More at texasmutual.com/expert partner. Philanthropic support for Texas Standard comes from Casey and Scott O'Hare, the Winkler Family Foundation, Lynn Dobson and Greg Wooldridge, Adrian Killam, the George Huntington Family, and St. David's Foundation. Additionally, Texas Mutual Insurance Company is a founding sponsor of Texas Standard.